Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Lights Camera Discussion podcast. My name is Massey1903, and of course, I'm joined today with my co-hosts, gentlemen who, like Tom Cruise, have been called Hunt or something similar on more than one occasion. Collie and Todd Roth. Guys, how are we doing?
Good afternoon.
We do, yeah, excellent. These just get better. Massive fan of these.
Oh,
How are you, mate? All right? Yeah.
Some say
Better.
better.
Where we start from, start at the bottom and, now we're here.
It can only go up. I'm excited for today. I'm really excited for today. We're also going to talk about Mr. Brad Bird. So instead of messing about, let's just get straight into it. Collie, this is your episode, so take it away, big boy.
So who is Brad Bird? Philip Bradley Bird is an American filmmaker, animator, and voice actor. He has had a career spanning over 4 decades in both animation and live action. After an apprenticeship with Disney's core animators group, aka the Nine Old Men, and attending the California Institute of the Arts, Bird went on to work with various studios throughout his professional career. Some early examples being working with Steven Spielberg on 2 episodes of Amazing Stories and an 8-season tenure on The Simpsons as a creative consultant. Transitioning into directing with his debut, The Iron Giant, Bird followed this up with his move to Pixar and the release of The Incredibles and Ratatouille to critical and commercial success. Moving into live action, he directed Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, and Tomorrowland before returning to animation with The Incredibles 2.
Phenomenal stuff. A nice varied career. I love it. So this is going to be obviously 2 parts. First part today, we'll be covering 3 films, and then the second part will cover the final 3. So shall we get into it? Collie, what is our first film we're going to be discussing today?
We're going to be discussing The Iron Giant. The Iron Giant is a 1999 animated film about a large alien robot who crashes on Earth and befriends a 9-year-old boy named Hogarth Hughes. The film is set in 1957 in Rockwell, Maine, where the robot faces the fears and prejudices of the townspeople and the government. The robot learns about humanity and heroism by saving people from danger and sacrificing himself.
Good stuff. Okay, Todd, first thoughts? Was a rewatch yourself, or?
Yeah, a rewatch from a long time ago. Like, we had this video on VHS. It'll be somewhere, like, with the little Iron Giant figure in it. Like, we watched it quite a bit as a kid, but I haven't watched it since then. It's a lovely film. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a really good film, really well made, really well performed, and I know we'll get into all that, but just, like, really touching, but not to the point where it's saccharin. Do you know what I mean? Like, it finds that balance quite nicely, I feel. Great film.
Collie?
Yeah, I mean, like, this is one of my favourite animated films. It's the reason I chose Brad Bird as our director today. Todd, talking about VHS, this was the first ever DVD I owned. And it was that time when DVDs came out that it was like a plastic back, but a cardboard cover that you like flipped over and then clipped into place. We got our first family PC, and this came with it because it had a DVD drive in it. But yeah, love this film. Lucky enough to see it in the cinema last year for 1999 season at Cineworld, which was class. So yeah, love it.
Good stuff. It's I don't quite have the nostalgia to it like that you guys have. I'd seen it as a kid, but maybe more in sort of passing, or maybe quite hadn't engrossed myself in it. Like I'd been on and maybe kind of sort of seen it and stuff. So I didn't have. I knew it was like going to be a good film. But after watching it as an adult and kind of with all the different sort of themes and stuff that we'll sort of get into, it's a wonderful film with some incredible animation. So I'm glad I've been able to kind of almost experience it almost as a first watch, because it allowed me to to kind of get the sort of undertones and stuff. So yeah, absolutely phenomenal film. So normally with films, we haven't done animated films before, but we talk about like actors and their sort of like performances. Now with animated, it's going to be slightly different because it's obviously their voice acting and things as well. But what were thoughts on the sort of cast? It's quite a stacked cast, to be fair. There's some really big names in there. We've got obviously Vin Diesel's Iron Giant. You've got Jennifer Aniston as the mum. Eli Marienthal plays the Hogarth Hughes, and Harry Connick Jr. as Dean. They've obviously got a bit of a relationship as well there. But Collie, what are your thoughts on the kind of the performances from the cast of voice actors?
I think it's top notch voice acting. I mean, I think Vin Diesel. I didn't know for the longest time that this was Vin Diesel. It was probably only when he got cast as Groot in the Guardians film that a lot of people were like, why is he being cast of all people? But then he's obviously got the history of the voice acting in this, and the humanity that he brings forth. Obviously, he's got a bit more words in this than he did, or he does as Groot, but it's still very, very limited. And the fact that you can convey this, soul and humanity in the Iron Giant's brilliant. And the final scene where he says Superman as he flies into the rocket's just so touching, like so heartwarming. And that's down to obviously Brad Bird's direction and the animation throughout the film. But Vin Diesel really, really good at delivering limited dialogue, I guess. But he does bring forth a lot of feeling and heartwarming, throughout it. Like you say, Jennifer Aniston as a mum, I thought was really, really good. I think this is her first voice acting role. Obviously in an animated film, and I think she does absolutely brilliant. You can tell it's her as soon as you hear it, or at least after a few lines, you're like, I recognize that voice, and it's her. And this was obviously peak Friends time, I think. It would have been late 90s, early 2000s. So it was cool to see her kind of branch out into that, rather than just resting on her laurels in Friends. One person you didn't mention, which I love in this, is Christopher McDonald as Kent Mansley. Obviously know him mainly from Happy Gilmore as Shooter McGavin, but he plays a right bastard in this as well. And all that is all that implies. He says it numerous times throughout the script. But yeah, he's brilliant. Even Harry Connick Jr., as you say, as Dean is spot on as well. So yeah, really stacked. And Eli Marenthal, did you say it was?
I think it's
obviously hasn't done much out with this. But I thought he did excellent. And a bit of trivia that I really enjoyed was when he's the giant spinning him round in the car and he's supposed to be in a rocket. The way that Brad Bird got that to be convincing was that he actually shook Eli as he was delivering the lines, which I thought was quite good method acting from him. And the same as the scene when he's putting the whipped cream into the Twinkies, which is apparently a thing that Brad Bird did. He made Eli eat Twinkies while he was recording as well. So no, it was good stacked cast, like you say, brilliant. All really, really good delivery.
Okay, so Todd, thoughts on the cast?
Yeah, so the main standout for me was Christopher McDonald, and like Collie said, the way that I know him and the way that a lot of people know him is through Happy Gilmore, and I think when I hear him, you know his voice as soon as he comes on, and he's just that smarmy little prick that he's been in pretty much everything else. I don't mean to malign the guy, and I'm very sorry, but he's always just like that sort of dickhead, and he plays it so well in this. He tries to be like nice with the kid and nice with the mum, and then when he finds the gun and realizes his name's Hogarth, works really well. Jennifer Aniston's just got such a warm voice, and I recognized her as soon as she started speaking. And I'm not a big Friends fan, but I just think she's one of those people who goes down, like, she's quite iconic. Do you know what I mean? Like a voice, and she's just really well known. Harry Connick Jr. and her have a lovely chemistry, and that sort of. There's not a lot of Willy Wonky, but you still get that feeling, and it's nice that they have that. I think, like she calls him honey at the end, and you feel it, and it's real, and that's through their performances. And Vin Diesel, like I said, he's getting himself into $1 billion franchise without realizing it. And has to say 3 words for that entire franchise, which is lovely. And the guy who plays Hogarth, I didn't know until I opened IMDb, is Stifler's younger brother. Believe it or not, I didn't know if you knew. I know, mad. In the American Pie films, and now I can't unsee it. But yeah, great voice cast, and I think it just adds to everything else about this film that kind of makes it work. They were fantastic.
Good stuff. Yeah, I think you're right. Christopher McDonald was a standout. Like, he was so menacing, when he's like watching Hogarth like sleeping and stuff, and just almost like having that it's like an obsession of trying to work out what's happening and how he knows what's happening and stuff. So yeah, I completely agree. I thought he was great. Jennifer Aniston and Harry Connick Jr. I really liked their chemistry. Like, you're right, it didn't ever feel too much like a romantic relationship. It felt kind of platonic, like they were they just had that chemistry with each other, which was nice. And yeah, I mean, for me, Vin Diesel, with the little that he had, I mean, obviously had a bit more than, as you say, Collie said about with Groot, it was just 1 or 3 words, sorry. With Vin Diesel, with Iron Giant, it was more. And I felt like he did loads with it as well, which is an art in itself, isn't it? Being able to convey emotion like that with simple dialogue. Um, any other cast that stood out for yourself, or anyone else that you wanted to discuss about with the
No, I
cast
think
at
we're
all?
covering
No?
like
Yeah.
the big hitters. Like I think there was a few cameos from those original Disney animators and stuff that he'd work with,
Hmm.
like the two older kind of, I don't know, farmer type guys that are getting interviewed for stuff like that. It was a cool touch for Brad Bird to bring back some of his, obviously, his influences and his mentors, just in acting in brief cameo roles. He does that in a few of the films that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I noticed from the cast as well that Mary Kay Bergman had a couple of voices. Well, she's like a well-known sort of I think was she in The Simpsons? I think maybe at the start, or she's been in a lot of like animated films doing voices and stuff. So it was nice to kind of hear her. Normally we'd obviously talk about like the cinematography stuff. It's obviously a bit different with animated films. So how about we talk about the animation and things that stood out for yourself? So Collie, what was your thoughts on Iron Giant's animation?
The expressions and the kind of moods that they were able to convey through the actual Iron Giant himself, I thought was excellent. Especially one that springs to mind is when they come across the dead deer, and Hogarth is trying to explain to him that it's dead and stuff like that, and he's obviously trying to like help it, and Hogarth's like, no, it's dead, don't do that, don't touch it and stuff, and you can kind of see, pun intended, but like the cogs turning in the giant's head and stuff like that as he's learning that, and just the thematic kind of it's not so much just about the animation, but the kind of you are who you choose to be stuff that comes back around for the end, and he's like, I'm not a gun and stuff. I just think thematically, how they show the giant as like a puppy almost when they first meet, and then he gradually becomes more and more of a friend and stuff like that until the kind of final goodbye. Very touching, very emotional as well. So it's really really impressive how they're able to convey that like humor, but also heart within a 3D animated character.
Hmm. Absolutely. And one of the things that stood out for me is when the giant has first sort of like not quite showing his face, but a lot of time he's like sort of in the background. He's almost like looming over things, and it's you can just mainly sort of see the eyes and things. And the way that was animated for me is in terms of how the film went, as you're saying, the kind of progression that he has, in the being able to choose what he is or who he is, I suppose. But when you're seeing it like that, it's almost villainous and like menacing. So it sets you up for that sort of thing, and it subverts it the other way, which I thought was super effective. And the animators deserve a massive credit for what they did. Todd, anything animation wise?
Yeah, I just think it was like a really individual style. Like I don't know where you'd place it. So one of the things that really got me was quite early on where he's chasing the squirrel, and like obviously it's not cinematography, but that kind of chase scene and how the camera, if it was a camera, I know it's not, but like how that moves, how it tracks that shot was phenomenal. Like it sort of blends. It's not an anime, but it has that feel to it. It has that anime feel to it, and I thought that was really cool. But yeah, like you say, I think as a sense of scale, and we there's a couple of things that Brad Bird does really well across all of his films, and one of the things that he does really well is that sense of scale and the difference between like the world that the Iron Giant's living in and the world that the humans are living in is obviously the same world, but it's very different. Like they have to navigate it differently, and you really feel that through the size of the Iron Giant, and again the way that he interacts with different things and Hogarth having to slow him down. But yeah, like it just you don't appreciate it when in the late 90s, early 2000s, watching it going, oh, this is just a lovely film, but it's fucking beautiful as well. Like it just looks just really well animated, and I think that's a team effort. That's not just a Brad Bird direction thing. That's an entire team effort, especially when you think about the technology that they didn't have compared to now, and it being a hand drawn, just a beautiful film to look at.
Hmm. Absolutely. Collie, any interesting tidbits or anything else?
Just one thing is that this is the only film. So I thought the score and the soundtrack in this were really really good. Kind of especially the bit at the end where the little screw is trying to escape. and it's kind of the kind of Iron Giant theme. I don't know, for lack of a better term, is when he's getting all assembled again in Iceland. I thought that was really nice, and this is the only film that Brad Bird directs that isn't with Michael Giacchino. He does loads of stuff. Did like Rogue One, loads of Pixar stuff. I think he worked on stuff in the Batman and that as well. So like a very renowned composer. He starts working with him after this, but I thought this soundtrack and score like stood out to me, regardless of it being a well-known guy or whatever. So I thought that was just worth noting. There's some nice themes throughout.
There was a little sort of trivia that I seen that was about the sort of what made him come up with this film. I don't know if you've seen this, Collie, but it was like how his sister got killed, got shot, and his whole thing was, what if a gun had a soul and didn't want to be a gun, which I think is such
I noted that down as class.
Yeah, that's that's obviously the film in a nutshell, isn't it? I mean, and it's conveyed so well and so powerfully.
Hogarth has that conversation with him about, like, I don't know you're made of metal, but you have feelings and you think about things, and that means you have a soul, and souls don't die. Iron Giant says soul, and then Hogarth says, Mum says it's something inside of all good things, and that it goes on forever and ever. So yeah, the themes are really, really touching. In this, but it's such a heartwarming film, and we've touched on that a lot, but I think it's a very funny film at times as well. The bit where he's like hyped up on the coffee with Dean, I think, is really funny. And also the bit that makes me laugh every time is when he's having dinner with his mum and she's like, oh, can you say grace or whatever? And he's like, we thank you for the food, and he's like, and get out, devil, and stuff like that. It's just back and forth with, because the Iron Giant's hand is trying to do stuff in the house. So yeah, it's outwardly funny as well, but throughout it's got a very good core, and like you say, it was obviously a very personal thing for Bad Bird, because it was actually her estranged husband that shot her as well. It wasn't just like random gun crime. I think it was quite obviously heartbreaking for Bad Bird, so for him to put it into like a kid's film essentially. But that's what's really good about this, and I think a lot of his films, and I'd say even like modern animation for the most part, and I think maybe Shrek was one of the first films that I noticed that like there's different levels to watch things. You can watch stuff as a kid, or like as a teen, or like as an adult, and I think The Iron Giant's one of those early films that are like that as well, that you can appreciate different things about it wherever you are in life.
Absolutely. Like an onion, it has layers. On that note, anything else you wanted to talk about, or happy enough with what we've discussed with Iron Giant?
No, I'm good. I think I've covered everything for me. Sorry, on you go, Todd.
So no, just for me, the scene, like you say, the funny bits, and so where he's hiding in the toilet trying to push the hand out of the bathroom, and he's like, that's why you should always choose your food. And then you see that big boom, and I was like, I'm all for toilet humor, like I'm all here for shit jokes. But like, and like you say, especially in such a touching film, and it could have been cheesy as fuck. Do you know what I mean? Like they could have absolutely ruined it, and they just struck that balance so nicely. Like they just hit it perfectly, and I think tonally it works.
I totally agree, and I think it works for me because of the callbacks. So like when the Giant's away to like blow himself up with a rocket, he calls back to the "you stay, I go, no following" thing, which is obviously what Hogarth says to him really earlier on. And then as he's flying up, like I said earlier, like the conversation with Hogarth of like, you are who you choose to be, and he says he wants to be Superman and stuff. Like, oh my god, it's so emotional. And I think you said it in your Letterboxd review, Todd, about being like emotional about a big robot. It's kind of weird to say, but it's totally true.
It does, it hits you, doesn't it? Yeah.
And what was your line? Humans are right bastards. Was that not what what your review was?
What a bunch of bastards! Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, let's score it then. Iron Giant. So, Collie.
No, it's a 5 for me.
Todd?
I think it could easily be in my Letterboxd top 4 at some point.
Wow.
Nice. Todd?
I went 4.5 twice. I've watched it twice in the space of 2 weeks, and I went 4.5 both times. And now we've talked about it, I think I'm an idiot. But
I could have told you that before we talked.
Yeah, you've got nothing to do with the Iron Giant. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I went 4.5 as well, just purely because I don't have that nostalgia for it. But I do agree that after talking about it and on subsequent rewatches, I'm sure it'll be a 5-star. Right, okay, we will move on to the second film from Brad Bird. So, Collie, what is it and what is it about?
So the second film we're going to be talking about is The Incredibles, which is a 2004 animated film set in a retro futuristic version of the 1960s. It follows the story of Bob and Helen Parr, a couple of superheroes known as Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl, who hide their powers in accordance with a government mandate and attempt to live a quiet suburban life with their 3 children. The film explores their adventures as they rediscover the true source of their powers within their family.
Good stuff. And first thoughts, Collie?
So when you're talking about the nostalgia and stuff for the Iron Giant, I remember watching this at the time that it came out, but I probably didn't watch it again for at least 10 years or something like that. I remember enjoying it, but not loving it. I know I'm having to watch it for this podcast. I've enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. I was always kind of like, oh, when people said Incredibles is like the best Pixar film or top Pixar film and stuff like that, it was never, top 5, top 10 for me. It probably still isn't, but I did enjoy it a lot more. It's one of those ones with a twist of Syndrome being, the kid that you meet earlier on. It's a good twist, I think. I just don't think it hits the same on rewatches, but that shouldn't really detract from the film. Animation's great for its time. I thought the voice cast, top to bottom, great as well. So enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to.
Good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I've seen it, I can't remember how many times, but certainly when it came out, I watched it quite a bit and had it on DVD subsequently and stuff. And yeah, I really, really enjoy this film. I think it's almost retrospectively aged better with like the superhero films that we've had, since then. It's almost like it's like a stalwart, a sort of like a genre leading sort of thing that obviously was ahead of its time, I think. But as a film, I love the chemistry between the characters, as you say, the kind of twists and stuff that there is, because that's obviously the big twist with Syndrome, but there's a few other little kind of mysterious parts and stuff as well, which I thought were great, and animation was wonderful as well. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this film, and I loved getting to rewatch it again. So yeah, great film. Todd?
Yeah, I've definitely seen it before. There's no question about it. How often and how long ago, I wouldn't be able to tell you. Like as in, I don't know if I watched it on release. And I agree. I think with like how much superhero stuff we've had, it's weirdly refreshing. Like, and that's not me being like having a dig at the MCU or anything. I think it's very different. Obviously, it's aimed at a different audience as well. Like, it's a lot less general, but I just thought, like you say, top to bottom cast were amazing. I think again, some of the stuff it does in terms of characters and in relationships and all that kind of thing works really well as well. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed revisiting it.
Good stuff. Okay, so talking about cast, again, completely stacked. Craig T. Nelson, Samuel L. Jackson, Holly Hunter, Jason Lee. It's again Brad Bird himself, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a lot of detail. But thoughts on the voice cast then, Collie? What was sort of?
I think Craig T. Nelson like nails the Mr. Incredible voice. I don't know what it is, but it's almost like that's the voice I think of now when I think of not generic superheroes in like a derogatory way, but that's just Mr. Incredible is like the superhero almost, especially in this universe. He's the equivalent of the Superman or like the main guy with powers kind of thing. So I think he nails it. I think Holly Hunter is a standout for me as Helen, as Elastigirl. I think she's absolutely class. I think her interactions and her journey in this film, compared to the second film, which we will obviously cover later on, I almost prefer it in this film because she's like the understudy almost, because it's Mr. Incredible's film, kind of. But I think she does really, really well. I think the character development in this film is up there with live action and stuff like that, like animation. I think Brad Bird vehemently says that animation isn't a genre; it's a method in which you can create a film, same as live action and same as stop motion and all that kind of stuff. Like he hates when, I say that I've described that The Incredibles is a 2004 animated film, but that's not wrong. That's not wrong. But he doesn't see it as like a genre. He sees it as like a way of doing things, and the way that he conveys the growth within the family of recognizing each other's strengths and that they're, you know, stronger as a unit rather than individuals. I think is really, really good. And yeah, Brad Bird as Edna Mode is just top tier. And the fact that that was like accidental, that they had somebody lined up, I didn't note down her name, but they had somebody lined up to voice her, and then he only did like what was it, like as a temporary track, just so they could, I guess, start the animation process. And then everybody just turned around and like, no, actually, you're perfect. I think that's probably one of, like, you know, life's happy accidents when it comes to casting and all that kind of stuff. And just on a bit of a morbid note, I guess, I was looking who voiced Mirage, and it's Elizabeth Pena, who's in. I'd recognize her from Rush Hour. She's like the main female lead in Rush Hour. She's like the bomb disposal lady that's like partners with Carter and stuff. She actually passed away about 10 years ago, which I thought was quite sad, because when I seen it was her, I was like, oh, that's brilliant. Like, not seen her in much apart from that, but Rush Hour is one of my favorite films. And then I seen that she passed away, so that was quite sad. But I thought, like, now that I know that and hearing her as Mirage, I thought it was pretty cool to have like another role that now, if I ever watch this again, I'll be able to be like, oh, class, like that's her in Rush Hour and stuff like that. So I thought her turn was really good, and Samuel L. Jackson's just cool as always. I think Brad Bird just wanted him for the role because he wanted Frozone to be cool, and there's nobody cooler than Samuel L. Jackson, is there? So
Absolutely. And I think that's a case of you said about obviously Edna Mode as Brad Bird being Edna Mode being perfect. Like the Samuel L. Jackson Frozone is also like an absolutely perfect casting. Like it's just absolutely spot on. You know, specifically about, you know, where's my super suit, that whole sort of like thing is just that is absolutely that will stick with me forever. It's
oh yeah, where's my super suit, and no capes are just like top tier. From this.
Yeah, I completely agree. So the whole cast is great. Holly Hunter for me as well is a massive standout. Big shout out on TikTok to Buff Dad, who is it's a girl who's like proper buff, but she sounds exactly like Holly Hunter, and like folk have been like basically desperate to get her doing Elastigirl cosplay and stuff, and she cracks. She breaks.
People you mean you, right? By people you mean
well, maybe, but she breaks apples in half and stuff as well. It's quite interesting. But yeah, so shout out to her. Yeah, Jason Lee I thought was great as Syndrome. I thought that was a fantastic performance, especially obviously as we get further on and into the sort of like realm of him thinking he's in control, but actually maybe not being fully in control and stuff. When things start to unravel, I think he's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, as a villain, it's a great sort of twist, and I thought he was fantastic. Oh yeah, also Wallace Shawn as the boss guy at the start, like this little tiny guy who has power over Mr. Incredible. No one obviously knows who he is, but a guy that towers over him because he's his boss, and then the way that he exploits that is fantastic, and I laugh every time I see him.
As soon as he speaks, I'm just like, oh my god, that's Rex. Like he just doesn't even change his voice whatsoever. He's just like, oh my god, that's Rex.
Yeah, I thought he was fantastic. Todd?
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head with pretty much everything. Holly Hunter, outstanding. She's brilliant, and I think she brings a lot of like the tension between the family together. Like, because obviously that's a massive part of this. It's not just a superhero film, and it's not just like about having to hide in plain sight type thing. But I think it's also like it's a huge family drama, and I think she does a lot towards that. Jason Lee is just playing Ginger Jason Lee essentially. Like it's just he doesn't change his voice whatsoever. He's brilliant. Like that is me having a go at him. I think he's really good as Syndrome, but he's yeah, you can just tell it's him. And the same with Samuel L. Jackson. You can see them in like live action versions. I think you could see Jason Lee playing that bad guy, like being that over the top. You could see Samuel L. Jackson as being Frozone. Obviously, Craig T. Nelson would need to bulk up a little bit maybe, but you know. But yeah, I just think they nail it. I think one of the things I said, like Brad Bird does a lot right and does the same right the way through, is he writes kid characters very well so that they're likable enough but they're still human, you know, it's Dash and Violet, like who were done brilliantly as well. Yeah, like you say, from top to bottom, brilliant. And the fact again, so I didn't know that it was Brad Bird until yesterday when I rewatched it that it was Edna. Like, because he's not at the top of. Yeah, I knew he directed it. Like, I wasn't just watching it and think, oh god, yeah, because he wasn't at the top of the cast list. I just kind of just thought it was just somebody who wasn't overly popular on IMDb, and it wasn't until I started like properly looking into it. He's like you say, he's created one of the most iconic lines in a Disney Pixar film, just out of nowhere. But yeah, brilliant character, just class, start finish.
Absolutely. Okay. Anyone else that stood out in the cast list? I think that's again kind of big, heavy hitters.
There's one bit that I didn't realize until I read up on IMDb, and I thought it was kind of it leads us into our next film. Is that Lou Romano is in this as Dash's teacher?
Yeah.
And the funny line is that he said this little rat is guilty. And it's him that voices Ratatouille in the next film, voices Linguini, sorry, in the next film. So I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah, definitely.
So obviously, didn't have much to do, but I just thought it was a good connection to the next film. Because I think he was only like an animation consultant or something like that, and a production designer, sorry, on Incredible. So I don't think he was an out-and-out voice actor at this time. I think they just asked him to, fill out a role or whatever.
Good stuff. Okay, I mean, we kind of touched on animation, but obviously there's a lot going on here. What was something that stood out for yourself, Collie?
So I will probably touch on it more in the sequel. I watched a couple of review videos on or comparisons between this and the sequel, and I prefer the kind of animation style of the newer one. I think like this looks a bit dated at times, certainly in terms of like the character models and stuff, but when it comes to the action sequences, especially like the fighting with Syndrome and his big sphere bot or whatever they were called and stuff, I thought it was good. And the use of shapes I thought was quite good in this. Like they didn't try and overcomplicate Syndrome's like robot. It was just it's a big fucking sphere kind of thing, and like Mr. Incredible's like just a big like square kind of guy. Like it's obviously supposed to be like people, but it's not like photorealistic people, which is obviously like what more modern Pixar stuff is kind of stemmed to do. It's kept it like cartoon like, which I thought was a good choice. I just think like some of I think Dash was one of the ones that stood out to me between this and the sequel. Mm-hmm. I much prefer him in the sequel to this, but purely from a look standpoint, he kind of looks a bit like fucking Wallace and Gromit kind of animation at times in this, like really soft lined and stuff like that. But that's not like a criticism; it's more of just a preference. But yeah, the ability to capture a lot of the kind of action stuff, and this is obviously more 3D based than hand drawn aspect of the Iron Giant, because like I think like the Iron Giant, a lot of that was hand drawn, but then Iron Giant himself was like 3D animated, whereas obviously this is all 3D animation, and this is what I think this was the fifth or sixth Pixar film after like Toy Story and stuff that was like this, so it was still very early in their kind of progression towards what we can do nowadays animation style. And similar to what one of the comments on the Iron Giant was that they were limited at the time of the kind of technology that they had. I think they do a great job of it, but I'm just saying like I think like in the 14 years or whatever it was between this and the sequel, there's definitely a step up, but that's not necessarily a criticism of this one.
I think that's it. It sometimes films have to be like sort of viewed as a product of their time. And the fact that this one was done at that point of the technology for animation that they had is an absolute testament itself. But you're absolutely right. And again, we'll talk about Incredibles 2 in the next part, but you can see the sort of the jump in the animation. Again, the technology. It's just one of those things that is going to happen in sort of technology and stuff as well. So no, I totally agree. And for me as well, Dash was the one that kind of watching Incredibles 2, I could see the massive difference between the sort of it's not even the smoothest animation, it's almost just like the polishedness. It was just a bit more in Incredibles 2. Yeah, that's a word, isn't it? Polishedness.
Polished.
Yeah.
Is that a word though?
It is. It definitely is. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the action side of things was fantastic, and I thought as well the action scenes, especially with all of them, was so well choreographed. Like everyone kind of got their got to show off, like every character got to show off their powers in different ways, and they all kind of intertwined and stuff as well. I thought that was fantastic. It was great use of the choreography for the fight scenes, I thought. Todd, thoughts?
Yeah, for me it was it felt almost like the character models stood too far out on the background at times. Like, and obviously, like we say, it's a technological thing. Like, this isn't me maligning it and saying that it's worse for it, but when you're watching it, it feels very different to Incredibles 2 because it looks like they've been placed on almost like a green screen again. I'm aware it's animation. I'm not an idiot. I promise. We've made that point, but yeah, it just like they feel like almost more blocky than the backgrounds do, where sort of the characters in later Pixar films sort of blend more, and I think that's a big part of it for me. But yeah, I love like you say, the sort of humanoid almost, like they are people but they're not, and it's like that coincidence guy, the teacher. Like, what a ridiculous caricature of a human he is. The little boss man as well. Like, everything about them, where they've got these like over extenuated feet, like the foreheads on some of them are absolutely gigantic. And the old woman getting the cat out the tree. What, like, do you know what they remind me of? You know that the short that Pixar brought out with the chess, where it's the old fella playing chess against himself. Like, that felt like the model for this. That felt like what they were doing. So yeah, I really like the character models and stuff. But yeah, there was bits of it that just kind of took me out a little bit, but not taking anything away from the film.
Oh, fair enough. Okay, anything else that stood out for yourself? Call any tidbits of information?
No, that's it for me.
Yeah, Todd.
Just some of the I thought one of the best bits about it was with that little boss when he punches him through the wall and he lands, and obviously it looks like he's just battered him through one wall, and then as it moves around and you see he's gone through like 6 different walls. That was a smash hit. That was fantastic. Just the intensity that he managed to do, like the cat in the tree and him still trying to be like that good guy getting the cat out of the tree while also trying to stop the crime. I think Brad Bird writes action, regardless of whether that's live action or animated, really, really well. Like, he's got that nailed on. Yeah, great film.
I would say one of the things that did it for me as well was the weird sticky balls that like kind of grow on him. You know, when he's like in Syndrome's sort of lair thing, and it's like almost like rubber looking balls, but then when they landed and they sort of like grow and stuff as well, and end up overpowering them. I thought that was really animated super well. What do you guys think of the ending? Obviously, it ends on sort of a cliffhanger as such that obviously we'll talk about more in Incredibles 2, but did you think that was like a satisfying ending, or would you have done anything differently, or Collie?
I mean, I read it as obviously watching it at the time, and then until 2018, you didn't really know that there was going to be a sequel. I read it as a kind of a homage to the comic books. It's like tune in next week, or not comic books, like cartoons of the 90s, or even comic books is like tune into the next issue to see the Incredibles in their next adventure. So I quite like it. I think it's quite effective, even if they never ever got a sequel. I quite like it because it shows that, you know, just because the film's ending, the characters' lives aren't ending, if that makes sense. So I quite liked it.
Absolutely. Todd?
Yeah, I was good with it, and I'd forgotten the ending, so knowing that there was a sequel, like to come to, might have if you'd have asked me whenever I watched it the first time, might have been a bit different. But yeah, I really liked it. Did you have like a different feeling about it? Like, was it?
No,
just,
I was just interested to see if because I quite enjoyed it as well. I thought it was like the way, as you say, Collie, is absolutely spot on analogy. It's like it's setting up like as like a comic book or something, or like an old superhero TV show, where it's like, you know, it's not gonna end. This is them now, and this is what they're gonna be doing, kind of going forward and stuff. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I wasn't sure if there was like if it was potentially, you know, something that, because I sometimes when a movie ends on a cliffhanger, it can be annoying or frustrating. I wasn't sure if you guys sort of saw it differently. I don't know if people who maybe haven't even seen the second one potentially see it a different way, sort of thing as well. So no, it's just an interesting question, I thought. Okay, anything else we talk about with Incredibles, or we're happy enough with what we covered?
All good.
All good.
Yeah, I'm
Perfect.
just
Okay.
like it's one of those. Sorry, it's one of those films that I'll go back to. I think because of the family drama in it, and I really like that side of things as well. It's just a nice one. It's nice that we revisit, and I'm revisiting it because of this. But it's something I'll go back to just to watch and enjoy myself.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, rating it then. Collie?
I give it a 4.5. It's one of those ones that I was like, my 4 is harsh, but it's a solid 4.5.
Good stuff. Todd?
Yeah, 4.5 for me as well.
So it's unanimous 4.5 for me as well. So
Yeah, I don't think it's ever going to be a 5, but like I said, I think 4 would have been a bit harsh on it.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, good stuff. So we are going to move on to the final one in this part. Collie, let us know what we're talking about and what the film's about.
So we're going to be discussing Ratatouille, which is a 2007 animated film set mostly in Paris. The plot follows a young rat, Remy, who dreams of becoming a chef at Auguste Gusteau's restaurant and tries to achieve his goal by forming an unlikely alliance with the restaurant's garbage boy, Alfredo Linguini. Don't know why I struggled with Gusteau's name there, but we got there.
Good stuff. Okay, I mean, Collie, takes away first thoughts on Ratatouille.
Similar to The Incredibles, like I seen it at the time, and probably like once or twice subsequently, but it wasn't until this rewatch that I thoroughly enjoyed it, fell in love with it, and yeah, I think it's absolute class. Not Brad Bird's best work, but certainly up there.
Yep. Todd?
First watch for me. I don't know how I've missed it. I don't know why. But fuck me, this film like hit me like a ton of bricks. It like in a good way. I wasn't emotional. Like I just love this film. I don't know. I do know. I going back to Letterboxd, and I try not to put reviews on when we doing this, but I couldn't help myself. Just it is joy in a film. It is joy distilled into what is it, 90 minutes or something like stuff like that. Performances are amazing. Like the message of it, but even just like the characters and. It's blown me away, and I'm gutted that this is my first watch type thing. Like I wish it was something that I'd have had in my roster earlier.
Good stuff. Yeah, it's a rewatch for me. I remember getting this through Love Film. For all you oldies out there,
Wow.
yeah, I got sent through the post as a DVD to myself, and yeah, always really enjoyed it. Again, I don't think I ever like sat down, looked at it as kind of with a analytical eye as well. So it was interesting to do it for this, thinking about the sort of more layers to it kind of thing, and like what sort of things I'm looking for, and yeah, realized that this is like it's special. It's an absolutely special film. I loved it. I thought it was great from start to finish, and a lot of it I'd forgotten about as well. But yeah, it's really something else. It's a truly special film. Right. So voice cast again in each one we're going to talk about. It's absolutely stacked again from head to toe. I've got Brad Garrett, Lou Romano, which we spoke about. Obviously, Patton Oswalt as Remy, Ian Holmes in there, Peter O'Toole's in there as well. Yeah, I mean, thoughts on the voice cast, Collie? Anyone see it for yourself or?
Oh, brilliant. Patton Oswalt's incredible as Remy. And the fact that you can tell it's him, but I don't think every like line I'm like, oh my God, that's Patton Oswalt.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. You can definitely tell it's him, but yeah, I thought Remy was absolutely charming. And Lou Romano as Linguini as well. It's such a bizarre voice in a weird way. I know a lot of animation and voice actors like do voices to like stand out rather than just their generic voice, but I thought Linguini is one of those ones that will always strike me as peculiar, but not in a bad way. And then having like Ian Holm and Peter O'Toole as you know, two of the greatest probably actors of their generations as voice actors in this brings a bit of, you know, not credibility that it wasn't credible before, but I just think a bit of you know, raises the tier of it to that S tier of voice cast, I think. And then Will Arnett as well. I did see that he was on the cast list as the German sous chef who changes his backstory every time as well. So I thought that was a good precursor to obviously Will Arnett's successful voice acting down the line. I thought it was good. But yeah, Oswald as Remy's stand out. Like, probably one of my favourite animated characters ever now, I would say. I love him, and I think Oswald brings that kind of charm and like cheekiness
Mhm.
to Remy really, really well.
I agree, and I think as well it's his passion as well that does it for me. Like his passion for cooking and creating the perfect things. You know, just as a sort of self taught kind of rat cooking. Yeah, I think he's phenomenal. Peter O'Toole for me was massive as Anton Ego. I thought his performance was absolutely like spot on. It it could have descended into that sort of like stereotypical antagonist kind of thing, but once he's had the Ratatouille and had the sort of like flashback to his childhood and things as well, like it almost clicked in that he's just this guy who's a perfectionist and almost loves food as much as Remy does, but for different reasons, but also with the same goal in mind as well, that they just wanting perfection, which I thought was great. I loved hearing Brad Garrett as well. Like his voice is so it's almost iconic, really. Like I'm a big fan of Everybody Loves Raymond. Like I used to watch that loads as a kid, so hearing his voice again is always nice. So yeah, again, I thought it was an absolute spot on voice cast, and they were brilliant. Todd.
Yeah, Ian Holm as Skinner is like that manic side of him. Is brilliant, and again, I'd have never in a million years, like you say, Lou Romano and Patton Oswalt. You could have a good guess. They'd be in like your top 5 guests, especially Patton Oswalt. Whereas like Ian Holm, I just thought he nailed it. He just had that sort of manic is the word, little man syndrome character, and I thought that worked really well. Janine Garofalo as Colette as well, I thought was really good. That kind of, the attitude, but for the right reasons and stuff. But yeah, Patton Oswalt. The other two, Django and Emil as well. The other two main rats, I suppose, especially Emil, were brilliant, just class. I think it adds to the sort of the love I had for it was how good they were and how sort of real these characters felt through the voice acting. And again, when you've got the sort of, I need to look into it, do me research, I know, but when they're in the house at the beginning, Emil and Remy, and that old woman shooting at them, and it goes from Patton Oswalt talking English to like that sort of squeaking because it's from the woman's perspective. I need that to be Patton Oswalt. I need that to be Patton Oswalt in a voice booth, just going like that was a highlight for me. And if he needs a replacement for Ratatouille 2, give us a shout. I'll do the squeaking. But yeah, yeah. And I was chuffed when I saw Will Arnett was in it, and then I was devastated when I found out who it was because I wasn't very Will Arnett of him. He was a good character, but I wanted more Will Arnett. But yeah, like I said, again, it feels like a theme, but from top to bottom, brilliant, brilliant voice cast.
I just have like the image of you in a booth as a rat going, "Why I squeak 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 squeak," like
Geordie rat. I'll take it. I've probably been called one before, actually.
Yeah, I was
Probably
gonna
by
say,
one of you
yeah,
too.
yeah. Oh me. Well, so the animation on this one, it's obviously different from the sort of the previous animation that we've seen. Colin, what was there that stood out for yourself with this one?
One of my favorite shots of the whole film, just to go to a specific one, is when Ego actually eats the ratatouille and it like zooms in on him and it shows him as a kid eating it. I thought that was such a good choice, like thematically for the film as well, showing you exactly what he was thinking of, like by zooming into his head. I thought that was quite a cool, not a trope, but I definitely think it's been used subsequently. I can't think of anything that used it prior to this, maybe, but it's definitely something. It almost reminded me of Inside Out. Like that's what it does a lot of the time when you're going in and out of the lassie's head, that you can see all the emotions, or even like when it skips to the parents and stuff in Inside Out. It does that kind of similar zoom into their shot and then to see what all the emotions are doing. But anyway, I think the animation of the people in this is definitely a step up from Incredibles. I think they still have the exaggerated, head or like shapes and stuff of people. Like I think it's to still show that it's not like photorealistic, but I definitely think the quality of animation stepped up between the two films in the 3 years between them. and Remy, and like even just the shots of all the rats when they're in like the pantry in the restaurant, and obviously Linguini catches them, and then they're all running out and stuff. I thought that was the ability to animate that must have been like, or like the difficulty in animating that must have been really high, and the ability to do it shows kind of the quality of the work, the animators that they had working on it.
Mm-hmm. That for me was one of the things as well that stood out was when it was a massive amount of rats. Like when the lady shoots down her roof as well, and they all like are just there, and they just and they just scatter everywhere. Yeah, I think that's phenomenal. The food as well. It's like the way that's animated. It's almost like there's obviously the sort of thing of food porn where you can like people like obviously make their food look incredible to elicit a response from yourself. They did it in animation, and that for me is a massive like win. That must be tough going to make animated food look that special and that like palatable as well. Like I just want to eat that ratatouille. I just want to, I just think that the food looks incredible. Todd?
Yeah, I wrote down about the slice of bread. It's not the slice; it's like a chunk of bread that he picks up, and you can just see like the bits inside the bread. Like it looks like it's full of crumbs. Yeah, I love when the rats are eaten, and obviously it's a new experience for them, and the colours and stuff. I wish they'd done more with that. Like it only happens, I think, like 2 or 3 times in the film, but when it does, like it just puts so much across, and I thought it was like a nice little stylistic sort of thing. Yeah, and like you say, the character models work really well, and the scale difference in the kitchen, where Remy's getting in that first scene before he makes the soup, and Remy's sort of like rushing around the kitchen, and the humans are, but not at the same pace, not with the same urgency. Like that works really, really well. And again, down to writing, down to animation, but was really well done.
There's one other thing. Sorry, I forgot to say about as well is when they're wet. So like when Remy is like had fallen in and is soaking wet, and then also the Greedy is as well. Like for them to animate, like you can kind of fathom how hard it must be to do that, but to actually get it on screen like they did, and like how it looks like they're actually like your mind tricks you into thinking this is a rat that just fell into water. It's not. It's a computer animated thing that people have then meticulously made look like it's wet, look like it's dripping. I thought that was
80 years ago as well, doing it 80 years ago
mm-hmm.
is super, super impressive.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. One other thing I wanted to say about, and Collie, you touched on this gentleman, Michael Giacchino as well, the score. I thought this, like, the sort of like Paris, France influenced, what's it called, accordions and things like that. I thought the score was absolutely fantastic. I thought it fit perfectly, and it just elevated it, the film as well. Collie, anything else you wanted to touch on?
No, I think like touching on some of the standard animation and the voice cast is all I had noted down to talk about. I don't know if there's anything, Todd, you need to add.
Sorry, just when you said about the score on like France and Paris, like that shot of Remy climbing to the top of that tower or building or whatever, and looking out over Paris, that is something that I'm like legitimately jealous that people got to see in the cinema. Like obviously I probably wouldn't have appreciated it the first time around. I wasn't a child, but I don't think I'd have had the same head on now, but it was just stunning. Just like it give you that sense of what Paris is and how it feels. So
good stuff. Okay. Right. Let's rate it then. Collie?
It's a 5-star for me.
Good stuff. Todd?
Straight with the 5 stars. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, 5-star for me as well. So it's a unanimous one, a unanimous 5-star for Ratatouille. So, I am delighted that I got to watch that again. Right, okay, well, that is part 1 of our Brad Bird episode. I've had fun, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what we say in part 2, because some interesting films there. So guys, again, if you're listening to Spotify, please remember to follow, give us a thumbs up, and give us a 5-star rating. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, which quite a lot of you do, remember to hit subscribe. and give us a thumbs up in there as well. And let us know what your thoughts were on the episode and some of Brad Bird's films. But we will see you in the next one, part 2 of Brad Bird, coming soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Cheers, everyone.
In a bit.